So today we're looking at a new Balisong from Atroposknife. This is the Demon 2. All right, so this is a smaller, lighter weight version of the Demon, which is one of the most popular Balisong models from Atroposknife. Talked about the company a couple times. There's a guy in Russia making some really interesting stuff, as well as a ton of Balisongs. I mean, from all ends of the spectrum. He has some cheaper trainers that are about like $100, some lightweight models with like G10, all the way up to some really fancy stuff, you know, in the $500 and $600 price range. This one sells for $260. All right, this is the one with the tang pins. I believe there's also a Zen pin version of this knife. I did a full review on the Demon. All right, and this is basically just a smaller version of that. So here's the packaging for the knife. It came in this box direct from Russia. You can see there's the hashtag Atroposknife. All right, did also come with some spare hardware, which is nice. A couple screws, as well as two Torx wrenches. All right, so just in case you didn't have any tools at home for that, now you did. So quick specs on this: 3.9 inches on the blade here, 9.33 inches open, and 4.8 ounces. All right. What's different about this one is this latch. All right. Now, something worth noting is that the stock pictures on the website still show this with a T-latch, all right, for the Demon 2. So I believe it's an option. Of course, you can talk to them when ordering, depending on what you prefer. But if I zoom this in real quick to show you this, we have basically a brass screw, all right, which goes on the end of this post. All right, so this literally unscrews. Now, when I got it like this, there was no Loctite or anything, and while actually flipping it and using it and stuff, it did get a little bit loose. So every now and again, I would go back and just, you know, tighten it down. Being that it's brass, it's polished up nice, it's a little dome, right? But it did get marred up. As I turn this, you might be able to see that. There's definitely some, you know, little dings and dents and stuff. So it's just something to keep in mind. The other version is basically just a T-latch with a pin that goes through it. All right, so just be sure to specify if you happen to be interested in this knife. I like it because it's different. There's nothing else brass on the knife, so I'd prefer a titanium screw, a stainless screw, aluminum screw. You know, it stands out, but it doesn't, you know, specifically match or anything. Now, of course, this model does have a pocket clip, all right, which clearly says Atroposknife. All right, 2 screws on that if you wanted to remove it. But it is very functional. It's thin enough where you can actually flex this up and actually use the thing for all the people out there that like to use their Balisongs as opposed to just, you know, kind of flipping around the house. I have to say, of all the Balisongs I've had in the last year, at least, this one actually got used more than any of them. I, you know, played around with this, did a little light flipping and stuff, but I actually used this like its first intended purpose, as a knife. So focusing on the blade here, all right, this is the same style as the original Demon, which is a very interesting, like, modified Tanto. So we have a Tanto style blade, completely straight edge, but after this point here, we have a curved portion. So I really like it. It is actually very, very useful. The spine is also rounded on this, which I really like, specifically for flipping purposes, because if you're doing ricochets and stuff, it's bouncing off your fingers, so it's a little bit more comfortable to be rounded like that. This is in D2, which is marked on the blade there. All right, you can see the, you know, Atroposknife logo as well. All right, the reverse side has nothing, it's sterile. Again, worth noting that this has the tang pins. There's also a Zen pin version, okay, if that's something that floats your boat. Simple titanium handles, some milled holes, very nicely finished. It just has a matte, you know, gray finish on this. Now the knife flip's awesome. I like this one even more than the original Demon model just because of the size. The holes add a little bit of texture, but it's not too aggressive. It is very smooth, nothing crazy, just regular bronze phosphorus washers, all right, that are in the pivot there. Something I actually noticed, since we're talking about the pivot, which is a little bit odd, but totally makes sense after I talked to the maker, is you can see the tang cups here. These are for the pins, right? You can notice the size there, right, which matches there, and in the closed position, it also matches the size there. But then when we get to here, they're really shallow. So here's an even closer shot. Again, you can see the depth of that cutout, and on this side, it's just really shallow. So originally, I thought that was kind of a mistake, but after talking to him, you know, I simply explained, you know, these are hand done, all right, and that was basically how deep that was supposed to be to get the proper tension on the latch, all right, which makes perfect sense, all right. So you can see when this is just gently closed, all right, the latch lands here. So you have to push together to create enough pressure so that the latch will stay in the locked position when you're actually using the knife. And I did actually use this knife. I used this knife more, like I said before, than most Balisongs I've ever used. Way back in the day, I had a 42 that I used all the time around the house. It was a beater knife. I mean, I actually used it all the time, not just flipping. But this one was a pleasure to actually use. It is a great design besides, you know, just playing around with it. But yeah, I mean, as far as that shallow tank cup there, it does make sense. When in the lock position, when you unlock it, it will drop free. This happens pretty consistently. All right, so if the knife is open and locked and you want to use it, you don't have to use another hand. You don't have to change to a reverse grip to pop that open. You can, just let gravity do its work and just squeeze together. All right, and then the closed position, again, you can see that you have to squeeze it together to build the pressure to keep that closed and locked, so it is not going to accidentally get loose. All right, so that kind of shallow cup on the inside there is purposeful. It was not an accident. I just thought that was kind of interesting because I haven't seen that before. So overall, I really do like this knife. I mean, it's very smooth. It does flip very, very well. However, I kind of focus more on the utilitarian part of a Balisong in kind of testing this knife. It works great. The D2 is totally adequate. I like the blade design and everything. The only thing I don't like about this is pretty much that little brass cap. What's interesting is because it's a screw, I can always get any old screw from the hardware store and, you know, maybe polish up the end and I can replace it if I wanted to. It's just, like I said, it works totally fine. I could put Loctite on so it doesn't back out. It's just the fact that it's brass doesn't really match anything. You know what I mean? It just kind of stands out a little bit. Not a big deal, just personal preference, really. Atropos knife is definitely worth checking out if you want to get more serious about flipping, get something, you know, it's going to last a little bit longer. Like I said, they have a variety of different models that are very, very affordable, you know, especially compared to some of the higher end stuff that's really common these days. You know, so instead of forking over $400, $500, $600, you can get something like this for less than $300, and you would still have a nice Balisong you can actually flip and have that longevity. All right, doing a lot of flipping with this. The pivot screws have not backed out at all. Just to show this real quick, there are screw heads on both sides. All right, but again, just every now and again, trying to check it out and see if it's getting loose from flipping. It stayed totally tight. I'm not 100% sure if they're using Loctite when they're sending these out or not, but they haven't backed out at all. Hasn't gotten loose. Real quick, I'll show you the tension before we go here because a lot of people want to see, you know, how much play is in this, and it is perfect, in my opinion. Now, of course, some people like it super tight. I don't. I like a little bit of play. All right, I always said that the bottom channel here should not go past the top channel on the other side. All right, and that's exactly where this is. This is basically on stock, you know, with any kind of Benchmade or any other, you know, higher end Balisong you're going to get from factory. Has enough play to manipulate. It's not too tight, but it's also not really loose either, so it's not going to fall apart or anything. So that's it for now, guys. If you happen to have an Atropos knife model, whether it's a Balisong or one of their other knives they do, they got some friction folders. You saw the, the fisherman's knife they did a video on. Just some pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, I mean, definitely nice quality custom work. Now, of course, this is just my opinion, but I feel like in the future, his prices will go up. He's doing custom work, putting out some really cool stuff, limited production on these knives, you know, and eventually the demand's just going to get more and more, but the supply is going to be less and less. Therefore, you're going to see a price hike. That's just my prediction. But anyway, that's all. If you guys happen to have anything from Atropos knife, be sure to post down in the comment section what you think of their work. But so far, I've been happy with everything I've tried from him. So that's it. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.